So guys, Cameratine. During this self-isolation at home, we can't get out, so we've got to use the cameras, keep in practice. So things like water droplets and things like that is a good mess around. It's easy to do. You can either just use your sink at home, or if you've got a little mock-up studio, you can go ahead with that. So here is me having a little play.
Right, hi guys. So this evening I thought, do you know what, I'm going to start messing around with some water droplets and things like that and show you what I've been up to. But first I keep finding these bloody toilet rolls everywhere. I was in one up here. Oh, that can stay there. That's may come in handy for later, might it? But yeah, don't know who bought so many. Cool. But anyway, I thought water droplets, right. You don't have to have a small little mock-up studio like this, but you can use your kitchen table or something like that with a plastic tub or a dish in it. Set something up that's holding a plastic bag, or if you've got a dripping device, you can also do that, or even just a dripping tap in your sink. So if your sink's quite large, you can actually shoot down into it a little bit, or raise up the bowl with a couple of other bowls underneath it or something. Get your tap dripping very slowly, and away you go. Basically all you need is, I'm only using the Rotolight AL here just for lighting, just here so you can actually see. But this is a bit extreme, you don't need all this, but I've got my macro lens on, my 90mm macro lens. I've got a wireless trigger to fire my flash gun. My flash gun is actually facing down through the top of the little mini studio here. It's actually shooting down through a hole into the background. So basically it should be lighting from behind, so it's going to bounce the light back, which should light up the water droplet coming back up. So very simple. Normal setup, I would say, would be around about ISO 400, about f8, and about 200th of a second. Normally works quite well, but then obviously you can tweak it here or there. Your flash gun or strobe, whatever you're going to be using, normally have it on sort of 132 power, so a very short duration, which actually becomes your shutter speed. So it's got really not much to do with your camera as such, it's actually the flash gun. You're going to need a remote for this, because you don't really want to touch the camera, because you could jiggle it around a little bit. Turn stabilisation off if you've got lens or body stabilisation, because it's now on a tripod. It's fine. I've got it on a slider here, so it means I can actually go forward or backwards, depending on what I want to do. But one little tip for actually catching your drip, or focusing on a drip, is to use a knife or something like that and actually hold it in the water where it's dripping, and then you can get your focus point very, very easily, and away you go. And it's just a case of experimentation after that. There are other ways. So I've got a Myops trigger here. So they're about, well, they were about 100 quid. They're probably cheaper now. I think you can even get one that plugs into your phone now, so it actually uses your phone as the device as such, but just has a cable running to your phone, plugged into your camera. And basically that detects sound, or a laser, or light. So you can actually capture lightning very easily. You can set the camera off with a clap, or a bang or something, and a laser. So you can actually, in theory, you could actually run a laser across where the water droplets were going, and every time the laser is tripped, it will, by the water droplet, it will actually trigger the camera. I have used it, and yeah, it works, but it kind of takes away the challenge of actually doing it, doesn't it? You get a lot more satisfaction out of doing something, getting it right, because it's down to your own reactions and things like that, and it's just makes it a bit more interesting. Otherwise, you know, just leave it there and just go out for, you know, a walk or something, and just come back and you've got 200 shots of the same thing. So water doesn't splash the same every single time. It's weird stuff. Sometimes you get a really lovely little ball of water coming back out. Sometimes you get a little crown of water splashing up below it. Sometimes you get 4 or 5 little droplets. Sometimes you miss it completely. It's always very different. You can use milk, you can use food colouring, you can do loads of different things. But there's a lot of things you can do in Photoshop later, like add filters and things like that. So all I need to do now is, using a little pin, is pierce a hole in the bag. That's just an old post bag, so something I've got from eBay. It's just a reusing a bag up basically. So I've just filled a bit of water in there, taped it round and tied it over my boom there that's basically holding it with the toilet roll. Yeah, so it's all good. Let's go and experiment basically. So we've just got to get a hole punched into the bottom of it and then we can start messing around. So we shall go probably somewhere like there. There we go, so we've got a constant drip now. And then we just basically, let's come in a bit closer. So we've got a drip happening there. Every half a second or so. So it's going to give us plenty of time. Basically now it's just a case of finding out, lining the camera up rightly. And I'm going to bring it back a bit actually. So I'm just going to hold the knife now. There you go, so now I've got a focus point. I go manual focus. Turn the flash gun on. And now it's a case of it's now just a case of watching for that drip. So it's a case of drip and see what we got. Let's see if the first shot's any good. Way overexposed. So it means I can just drop the ISO down. So I'm going to go back down to 100 and see what that actually does. And then just literally just drop that down a bit so it's not too bright for me to see. I'm missing it every time. Yeah, it's just a case of and then we'll see what we're getting. Still missing everything at the moment. Boom, 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 boom. Well, we've got one. It's totally out of focus. This isn't dripping like I want it to. It's literally dripping. It's sort of rolling off the bag as such. This is the case now. Well, now we've got it sharp. I actually resorted to manual focus in the end, just because even though it's focusing on the knife, I think there's a little bit of variation on the drip. So now I've stopped it down to f13, shooting at ISO ISO 200 and f13 1/200th of a second. Seems pretty good. Flash gun's firing from above. It's literally just bouncing into the back. So gonna mess around with this for a little while, and then I shall bring out the big guns, which we'll see if we can get this working. Is this beast, which is in a metal case, which you'll see shortly. So she'll carry on messing around, see what we can get here, and go from there. So at least we know now. And I'm using handheld, I'm pushing the shutter button just as the water droplet goes, because our reaction time is around about anything sort of up to half a second, so as a human. So yeah, managed to get a water droplet in mid-air there. So it's looking good. So in fact I can probably stop it down even more, f14. It's just a case of messing about until you get what you want to see. So it's just messing around, and it's depth. Depth is the important thing. You can't be shooting at f2.8. It doesn't work. The depth of field is so shallow. Any variation in the drip is going to be out sort of out of focus towards you or behind your focal plane. So having sort of f11 to f13, f14 with enough light is going to be absolutely fine. But you need to have your flash gun step down to a shorter duration. So I think my one does 1/128th of power, which is really short. Like 1/1 is full power, which is a longer duration. So it's not any brighter, it's just a period of time. So basically we're shooting at a very fast duration of flash. So it's a very short period of time, which freezes your water droplet. So if you were to have a thousandth of a second shutter speed, yeah, it might do quite a good job with no flash if it was daytime and you're outside. But because we're in here and we're in a controlled situation and the sun's not coming and going, it works quite well. So yeah, I'm going to carry on, take a few more pictures and see what I can do. And then I'll swap lenses and go on to the Laowa 24mm probe lens. So it's just a wide angle, but it's a probe, so it's long and thin, so I can actually go into the water, maybe halfway. We shall see what I can do, but it could be quite cool. We shall have a little bit of a play. So I'll be back with that in a second. Right guys, so in this lovely case it comes in, I've got the Laowa probe lens. It's an absolute beast. And it is kind of a special use lens. It's compared to your normal macro lens, which you've just been seeing me use, it's very different. Very different lens. It's awesome. What it can do is incredible. So I'll be able to put this completely waterproof as well, so I can actually submerge this into that water. It's got lighting at the front as well if I need it, but hopefully even though the problem is it's so long and it's so narrow that your f-stop naturally is I think the minimum is f22. Is that right? No, f14. Sorry, f14 to f40. So ideally, it's going to give you plenty of depth, which is great, but lots of light needed. And this is where I might need to turn the ISO a little bit to actually get the shot. We shall see. It's worth a go anyway. So I'm going to swap over to that now, and you'll see it on the slider here. And the slider comes into its own because the lens is manual focus. I can bring it in and out with hardly any problem. With vibration or anything like that, where obviously on a normal tripod you can't move in and out very easily. So the electric slider is absolutely well worth it for this lens. So guys, we are now shooting with the probe lens. Another benefit it has got is built-in lighting, and I've actually upgraded the port, so it's got a magnetic port on it. So one thing is that if you give it a knock by any chance, you know, it's gonna you basically just rips away rather than yanking the port out or damaging it. So that's well worth a thought. So we are right on it now. We are at partly submerged. In fact, we're way too close, really. So what I need to do is come back a bit and adjust the focusing. Lost my lighting. There we go, I got stuck on the track. The lighting helps a lot, just to help you see what the hell's going on. So that doesn't look too bad in focus. I'm going to stop it down a bit to f22, and I'm actually going to take a couple of pictures just to see where we stand. Not bad at all for the first attempt. I'm going to turn off the lighting because I don't need it, so this causes troubles. And again, so I can actually go a little bit closer. I think I need to level off the camera itself. It's now trapped in there. That's a bit annoying. Right, so what we're going to do is actually off a little bit, he says. I think what I might do actually is, oops, shit, I made a mess. So now we can actually get it, it's actually in the water now partly, which is kind of cool because we might be able to actually, I'll go in a bit closer. Oh, it's completely submerged. We might be able to actually see the there we go. So I wonder if I can just raise the nose slightly. I suppose it doesn't really matter actually. We can now come in. Yeah, we need to raise the nose a little bit. Because I don't actually know. Got water all over the lens, which is easy to get rid of because I Rain-X the actual lens itself. Right, I think we're actually not too bad. Let's take a shot. Ooh, yeah, it gives you double exposure, that's weird. It gives us a very strange, I need to come back a bit then. It's too mad. So what I'm going to do is I need to clean or dry the lens. I knew that toilet paper would come in handy. Where is it? There he is. Looking at that. Let's bring it out of the way for a minute. Ooh. I lost a foot. There we go. Right. Let's give that a bit of a wipe. Okay. Now we should be good, hopefully. Get it over the top again. Now we've just got to try and get it in focus. That's pretty good. And then well early. I'll tell you what, this flash gun, the Sony HVLF 60RM, which is the newest version, is an absolute beast. Yes, it's very expensive, but it refreshes so quick. I mean, we just did a burst of 10 shots then, and it's ready straight away. It's really, really good. Very powerful. I've never used it on 1:1 duration. Doesn't need it. It's ridiculously powerful. I think most of the time I've used it on a quarter power or even 1/8 is most of the time. When I was out shooting, doing some portraiture, I had it on 1/8 and it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, very expensive, but works. So yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, it's not bad at all. So yeah, not doing too bad, as we can say. Right, so yeah, basically guys, it's just a case of mess around, experiment, and just use what you've got. You don't necessarily need a macro lens, it just helps because you can get a bit closer. Obviously today, our modern technology, we can crop in later anyway with a lot of the cameras. You know, if you've got 24 megapixels, if you end up with a 6 megapixel image at the end, it's nothing too bad, is it? At the end of the day, so you can crop in 3 or 4 times. It's not a problem at all. So it's just a case of mess around, experiment. let's say this lens is very specialist. It's not necessarily designed for this, but it's designed for being in small tight spaces, which I'm really looking forward to the summer, and be able to stick it down with the ants and bugs, bug life kind of thing. Should be really, really cool. But you need decent light, so you need either like a couple of Rotolight ALCs or something like that, or bright sunshine ideally. But like you say, it has got its own lighting on the front, which is absolutely fine. But we shall mess around and see what we can do. So anyway, guys, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, and it just kind of, hopefully it gives people some inspiration just to carry on messing around, shooting some shots. You know, just mess around and see what you can get at the end of the day. And yeah, so see you soon.